am I to have stardom? Who am I to have 1 million downloads? Who am I? Whatever. And then it's like, would I say that to my child? Like this cycle of self-love that we weren't taught in our generation, it seems, stops here. And I can really own like the possibility and stand in the stream of allowing and receiving what is really possible for me, because I stand and allow for that for my children, and it really wakes you up.
Yep. And if you don't allow it for yourself, then you're not allowing it for your kids, because they can only take on what they see modeled for them.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful when we understand it. They have to see it. They have to know what's possible, and they can only know it when they see it in front of them. It's just jaw-dropping when we really start comprehending that, like how really fully we have to start loving ourselves and having that self-compassion, because we want our kids to have that for themselves. It's amazing. Like, the greatest gift we can give our kids is to love ourselves completely and fully.
Join me, 'cause I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, oh, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine.
Welcome to Seeking Sunshine, Do What Lights You Up, a podcast for passionate, creative moms who are ready to live their best life and be their full, lit-up selves while being amazing moms, because it's possible to be both. It turns out that you don't have to lose yourself in motherhood, and I'm here to show you how. This is Seeking Sunshine 2.0, because we are no longer focusing on the problems, but on the solutions. It's your turn to shine. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And today we have such a great episode. I'm so excited to dive in and tell you all about our incredible guest. But before I dive in, I wanted to take a quick second and tell you about this Magic Mind supplement I've been taking, which has really been so great, especially as we're coming out of this winter break funk where we had the most beautiful Christmas and then we got so sick. And it was this kind of illness that even after a solid week of being super sick, it didn't really go away. It has lingered on, and this Magic Mind has helped me so much to just have the energy I needed when everyone else around me is still really sick and really dragging. And this has it's just helped me so much. I mean, Magic Mind is full of these really incredible high quality ingredients like matcha and ashwagandha and lion's mane mushrooms and all these adaptogens and neurotropics that are so good for your body. And I have just felt such a huge difference when I take the Magic Mind little shot supplement. It's really been amazing to feel that difference, and it has brought me so much energy, but not the kind that you have the energy like caffeine. It's not like caffeine where you have energy for a little while and then you crash. This is long lasting, and then you sleep really well. So right now they're having this really amazing thing for January where if you get If you subscribe for 3 months, you get an entire month for free, which is such a good deal that I super recommend that you take them up on it. And you can get that. There's a link in the show notes, but it's at magicmind.com/JanSeekings. And you use my special code Seekings20. And again, that's all in the show notes. So go check that out. It really has helped me a ton. And this is the time of year when we're all kind of really susceptible to illness, and there's just been something going around. So make sure you have something to help you that's actually healthy for your body, because I know that my old go-to when I got sick was like extra caffeine and stuff that wasn't very good for me. So I'm grateful that I have something that's actually good for me to help me get through this time. So today's incredible episode, I have such a great guest. I wanted to have her as a guest for so long. Her name is Sonnet Simmons, and you might not have heard of Sonnet, but I bet that you've heard her music. She's a singer-songwriter, and she's had all these ad placements, and she's just one of the coolest, most down-to-earth, sweetest human beings on the planet. I just love her to death. So in this interview, we talk about living your dreams, which I obviously relate a lot to her dreams of being a singer, but like, it doesn't matter what your dreams are. It's such an important topic to talk about. How do you pursue something when it feels really impossible? And then we talk about the growth journey and like learning who you're meant to be and what you really love. And then we talk about how motherhood fits into all of it, because she's a mom to 2 gorgeous little girls, and there's just something about motherhood that changes your entire life, but it especially changes, your dreams and how your career looks. So Sonnet Simmons was one of the top contestants on ABC's Rising Star with Josh Groban, Kesha, Ludacris, and Brad Paisley. She's a singer-songwriter with a heart-opening voice, and she's been heard by millions around the world. And really, guys, her voice is just so incredible. So make sure that you go listen to her music when we're done with this episode. For real, you have to. If you're not like, oh, I know who that is, I know her songs, you might actually know some of her music from ads, but you need to go listen to her music. So her original music has landed placements with major brands like Coca Cola, GoDaddy, Nivia, T-Mobile, and Microsoft, and she's been on TV shows. Like, her music's been in TV shows like Younger, Riverdale, Katy Keene, and more. Former VP of music licensing company Catch the Moon, Sonnet has been a music business coach since 2016, helping thousands of indie artists, singers, songwriters, and producers around the world find success in sync. She co-founded music business education company 2Indie. 2Indie is on a mission to make career fulfillment possible for all music makers. Sonnet is a mom to 2 adorable toddlers, and she's a Los Angeles native. Sonnet is amazing, and I think you're just going to love this interview. And I hope that you really take away how possible it is to be a mom and continue or even just start like living your dreams. And she's so real, and she's so amazing and inspiring. So welcome, Sonnet. Hi, Sonnet. I'm so excited to have you today on the Seeking Sunshine podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have a chance to chat with you.
Yeah, me too. You are the coolest, and I'm so excited to get to know you better and hear your story and because I know some of your story, and you are so amazing.
Oh, that's really nice. Thanks. It's like, we don't necessarily always think that of ourselves, but so are you. Always amazing. Yeah. These powerhouse women doing their things in the world, or trying and lifting each other up.
When you live it, it doesn't feel like it's all that much, but we do tend to like underestimate ourselves, and we downgrade our accomplishments. But I was just reading like your super amazing magazine article.
Oh, wow. Cool. Thanks.
So that was awesome. So will you introduce yourself a little bit? Because you have a huge history and a huge
like background, and I'd love to for people to get to know you better.
Yeah. So I'm Sonnet Simmons. I am a singer and songwriter and have been since I was little, like born, just came out singing, and have always thought that was my, aim and focus, and spent a lifetime really thinking our life, it's not really a lifetime anymore at this point, but my whole thing was I'm just going to be like a famous singer one day. And that's it. I was that blinders on, ready, go. I moved around a lot as a child. Music really helped me find my grounding in that, helped me make friends quickly, just, was the thing that I got confidence and accolades for and helped me like get through. And I went to UCLA for opera and jazz, and I came out of school and I was like, okay, now what? Like, who's gonna make me a star? I'm ready. Like, and then had to kind of learn how to show up in my own voice and take the power of my own career back and really show up as what I wanted to say. And I think that's because that's my journey as an artist. Like, what is it that I really need to say, that I want to say? What are the tools I need to hone, and so I can do that? I got really into music licensing and started running a music licensing company. Have had amazing success with licensing, and it gave me a new lease on energy and motivation to do music. I had just come off one of those reality TV shows, and was it was an amazing experience, but it was also really devastating for me, who had felt like, this is my last chance. After this, I'm going to be too old, and I'm going to be like, this is it. It's this or it's nothing. And so I did kind of give up on myself and my dreams for a little while. I mean, roundaboutly, I got into licensing instead. And I found that through Kathy Heller, and she emailed me, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to put all my energy into. And it's been amazing. And then most recently, I, people would be like, oh, where can I hear your music? Like, well, oh, you're a singer songwriter. Where can I find you? I'm like, well, you can't really find me. Like, I have a lifetime of music, and there's not really a big presence online, because you can listen to this commercial that was on this one channel once, like, and so, I've been writing music and not really releasing music. And this last year, I recorded an EP with Billy Loeffler, and it's music that I didn't create for sync. I really created it from a place of my own journey, my own healing. Hopefully, it gets synced, and but that being like, this is me. I just need to share this, and really back to my roots of the journey that I've had of like coming honing all the skills, bringing all the pieces of me together. And it's a record, I always say, like, for recovering people pleasers, as I am, and really finding your space and light and energy in this world of owning yourself as the CEO of your life, and really claiming up that space. I'm a mom of two girls. I have a coaching company where I help support, coach, and inspire other independent artists in sync, and like give them opportunities around that. And that's me in like the quickest nutshell I could figure
I
out how to
love it.
say.
Yeah, no, I love it so much because I feel like we have so much in common. I had no idea that you studied opera because I studied opera. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, now we have even more in common because that's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I know how that feeling of like, I was made for this, and then it feels like doors just shut in your face because the music industry is so difficult, and it's like, okay, now I'm too old, now I can't do it for this reason or that reason. And for me in my life, it was a lot of like, oh, I my weight is a problem, and now I'm a mom, and now it's impossible, and da 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 da. And I'm curious how motherhood fit into your journey, and how that, like, when did you become a mom, and your whole process, and how did that affect your ability to dream about what you could do?
Yeah. That's a really great question. And weight was also definitely something, that was like a thing for the industry. Like you
Yeah.
had to be a size, and it was acceptable to say that out loud. And now it's
Yeah.
just not acceptable to say that.
And for
And then
me,
go
that's
ahead.
why I studied opera, Like when I was
Oh, wow.
16, when I was 16, I put out my first music video on YouTube and got all this feedback of like, oh, why is there a whale walking down the middle of the street? And
Oh,
just all these horrible trolls with all these comments. And that was immediately where I stopped writing my own music, started studying opera. And for the next 15 years, I didn't write another song. I just sang opera
mhm,
until I didn't get into the opera program. And it was like, well, now what? Oh, I guess it's time to come back home to where I actually belong. And so that was my journey.
yeah,
But like back to
yeah.
my like it's
I
like
can
that was
relate to that.
why I studied opera, was because I was afraid I couldn't be anything else but, the fat woman singing on stage.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
These moments shape us, and to become a parent and you realize how quickly like we cut ourselves off from ourselves by somebody's
Mhm.
comment or what is allowed or acceptable of us, and wanting desperately not to have my children have those kind of experiences, and
Yes.
just really be mindful of the stories and the narrative that we're allowing into their lives, because that sort of, somebody saying that to you, and certainly I can relate to that in so many ways. Like, where was the other conversation? Like the person be like, okay, yeah, things are going to happen like that. And you can still do this, but like we just shut down. That's it. And the whole
Yeah.
life is shaped that way.
And for like me, it's like I want to teach my kids that, like, wait, that's not true. None of that's true.
Yeah.
None of that's true. And the
Yeah.
problem for my childhood was that my mom did think it was true. She did think, like, because she didn't have,
Yeah.
you know, any confidence in herself and in her body. Like, she also thought that she wasn't good enough. She also struggled with her own image. So she couldn't help me in mine because she was struggling too. So we have to learn how to love ourselves first so that we can then teach our kids.
Mm, that's it. That's all there is. Like I sit and I worry about my children, like this, and what if this happens? And da, da, da. I'm like, all I can do is be the very best model for
Yeah.
them. And that means doing my work. And that's it. Like, that's the most control I have to show them what is possible. And so, to go back to your original question on, my children are young, they're 3 and 5. And so it's just been the last couple of years of my career and how it's looked. And, I was doing sync before. And when your kids are young, gosh, it's so complex. When I first became a mother, or when I first became pregnant, I was like, well, this feels like it's the end of my career, because I don't have a model for how an independent artist. You certainly have models for people who are well-established artists who can then go and have children, and it's nice to see that. But also, like, how do you keep kind of hustling? How do you keep, making networking events when you have a baby? Or like, how do you show up? And like, your priorities certainly change, as they should. um so I guess how it's changed for me, I did think this might be the end, but I've also felt pretty determined for it not to be, because I more than ever had too little people watching and deciding what is possible for themselves by seeing what is possible, what I think is possible for me. So I still come up against that. I go in and out of wanting to post on social media, and because I have these new songs and I need to post about it. I need to share about it. I need to share my story. I need to figure out how to articulate. I have so much of a story, as we all do. Like, people can relate to different pieces. I can share that. And by me sharing, I'm helping other people on their healing journey. And I still find myself like, I just don't want to share today. Like, I don't want to dig in. I don't want to be seen. And really coming up against like whatever those like prickly parts are. And it's interesting. It feels like my own sort of like therapy work to do, to post on social media, to get myself to show up and be seen there. And that it's just the digital world. Like, you certainly don't get that same in-person feel, but there
Well,
is
there's
something to
so
that.
much to it's no longer just about you. It's not like when you share your life as a mom, It's no longer just, okay, I can, because if it was just me, it would be like, okay, I can share every detail. I don't care. But
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it's not just me anymore. I'm not the
yeah.
only one who's affected by what I share. And so like as a podcaster and as someone who's trying to promote, because I'm also doing that, I totally understand that feeling of like, it's a delicate line. It's a delicate like jump rope act of like, I want people I want to be authentic. I want to help people get to know me on a deep level. And I want them to know that I see them. But also, I need to protect my kids. I want to protect
Yeah.
their privacy. I want them to know that the things that go on in our family are safe with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it
it's,
certainly is. Yeah, that's so true. And I haven't articulated it so well as that. Like that is one of the factors. If it's like, all right, well, if they saw this post, like, would this be okay for them to see at some point? Like, obviously, they're not seeing it now, but knowing this piece of you, or like at what point would it be appropriate for them to see this? Or are these the lessons? I think for me, it's these are the lessons I want to share with my children. And so I'm trying to also figure out how to articulate this in song, how to articulate it in stories on social media, how to
yeah,
just really create a container in which this is my brand, because this is my story, this is my journey, similarly to you in that.
yeah, feel that. I just released my debut album came out last May, and I found the process of writing it like creativity is therapeutic. Like that's how I have processed a lot of my, the emotions of motherhood, which are big. And, there's a lot of processing that needs to happen as you become a mom and as you deal with all the things. And I think, my kids all have special needs. So we've had a lot of difficulty that has come about. And so a lot of the songs on my album were me processing those really heavy emotions. And so I've been able to
Mm.
talk about some of those. Like I wrote a love song to apathy, and I was like, oh, my kids were breaking all my stuff. And it was like they're breaking everything. And I couldn't get mad because I'm mom.
Mm.
And if I get mad at them when they don't even really understand, like how
Mhm.
much it hurts that like this is my stuff. Like you're breaking all my stuff. It seems really
Yeah.
silly and superficial, but it's my stuff. And it
You're
was
like,
like,
this is what I have left of
I'm
me,
like,
especially
you
when you're just so
right?
spread thin.
Yeah. And it was like, if I get mad, I'm teaching them what? That I care more about my stuff than them. I don't want to teach them that. But at the same time, I'm a human. I still get to be human. I get to have my human emotions. And so I wrote this love song to apathy, and it's so much fun and I love it. And it was like, oh, this is how I get those emotions out. And I've heard some of your amazing music that you're coming out with, and I can see a similar like as you process, emotions maybe in a similar way. And I hope that other moms out there have a creative outlet like this, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's not songwriting, if it's some way to work through the emotions that motherhood brings up, because there is so much when you give up so much of yourself
Mm-hmm.
to raise kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say probably most mothers do, whether or not they give themselves that permission. So this is like your permission slip to really dive into that creative side of yourself, because it is only helpful to your children when you have that. I know when I'm filled, I'm a much better parent. Um, and yeah, it's such a journey. I mean, motherhood is at least the beginning stages, it's like you're losing yourself and finding yourself at the same time. And nothing has ever meant more. And the stakes are high, and nothing is like more present at the same, like everything is also very present. Like you're just so, like these little humans are so magical, and there's so much presence in everything that they do. And also it's just like every trigger you've ever had is being triggered, and you didn't even know like you could sound like your mom. And like I find myself being like, how am I sounding like my mom right now? Like, I didn't even know I could do that. But you really come up against yourself. It is the deepest self-growth journey that you can go on if you choose to do it, because you've got these two little ones, or you've got however many watching and modeling. And so, on my musical career, that's one of the big motivating factors of like, when, who am I to have stardom? Who am I to have a million download? Who am I? Whatever. And then it's like, would I say that to my child? Like, this cycle of self-love that we weren't taught in our generation, it seems, stops here. And I can really own like the possibility and stand in the stream of allowing and receiving what is really possible for me, because I stand and allow for that for my children. And it
Yep.
really wakes you up.
Yep. And if you don't allow it for yourself, then you're not allowing it for your kids because they can only take on what they see modeled for them.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful when we understand it. They have to see it. They have to know what's possible, and they can only know it when they see it in front of them. It's just jaw-dropping when we really start comprehending that, like, how really fully we have to start loving ourselves and having that self-compassion because we want our kids to have that for themselves.
Mm.
It's amazing. Like, the greatest gift we can give our kids is to love ourselves completely and fully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whoa. And to allow ourselves all the things that we have wanted in our lives, because we want them to allow themselves to have everything that they want. Like, what kind of life do we want them to, like, what do we want them to think motherhood is? Do we want them to imagine motherhood is just giving everything up and cleaning and washing dishes and washing clothes all day? Like, we teach them, you go to school and you pick out, what's your elective going to be, and you learn all these skills, and you go to lessons, and you practice this skill, and you get better and better and better at it. For what? You go to college and you learn this thing and you become excellent at it so that you can then go be a mom. And what does that mean? It means that you sit home and you clean up after someone else all day until you're 40, 50, 60, and then you can live your life. Is that what we want to model for them? So we want to show them that what you're good for when you become a mom is just to be someone else's maid and chef all day? That's not what I want my kids to see. Like,
No.
that sucks. Like, that's not great. I don't think my mom was happy doing that. We can look at our predecessors. We can look at our moms and be like, that's not great. We see so many moms these days who are, their kids are leaving the house and they're becoming empty nesters, and they're going, who am I?
Mm.
I don't know who I am anymore. I haven't done the things I loved in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know who I am because my entire identity was wrapped up in my kids. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. Let's start modeling a different way of being a mom, where you get to be your whole self and an amazing mom at the same time. So tell us about,
It's a challenge.
yeah, it's such a challenge. Tell us about what lights you up the most.
Mm. I mean,
these
conversations
days.
like this light me up the most. It's, being able to go deep and real with people, and just the self-growth journey and the deepening of our understanding. I just realized Peter's gonna our understandings of who we are and what we're supposed to be doing in this world, and what our gifts are, and how to share those gifts, and how to make a difference. I mean, though, I feel like I worry, oh, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? And it just always comes back to just keep doing you, like keep on your journey, keep finding your center, keep showing up like authentic. What does authentically mean? Like, it's just a piece of my authenticity until like I keep peeling away the onion. I'm going to keep on this journey, because the more I can do that, the more my children learn that, the more I can show up with my gifts and change other people and affect other people. And I have to just keep coming back. So I guess what lights me up is like when I feel really connected to myself, to my power, and I move from that place, and I'm doing the work that allows me to stay connected to that, because it's certainly not like a consistent flow, especially when you have little kiddos. Like, back to that, like, I want to be a very present mom. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm off doing this, I'm off doing that, I'm not available for them. And at the same time, I want them to know that I do other things, and that and so like and that I have my own dreams. And they dress up and they're like, I'm going to the studio today, like that's their they're going to work to the studio. I'm like, all right, I'm doing something right. Like, they get something that there's bigger of a world than just me taking care of them all the time, because I also am doing that. So, it's just this balancing act. And I think every mother can relate. Like, am I doing enough? Is this enough? And yes, we can assure ourselves, but at the end of the day, when we can just am I taking care of myself? Am I like staying authentic? Am I giving myself self-love and compassion, and digging into that, because that reverberates into the way we show up in the world.
It really does. It's official. Podcast Like a Mother is here. This is my podcast coaching program where I lead you one-to-one through the entire process of building your own podcast. I will guide you every single step of the way as you figure out what topic you want to talk about, what lights you up, and how to do the entire process beginning to end. I'm going to show you every single thing that I know, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to show you how to make podcasting fun and easy and sustainable. If you want to schedule a breakthrough call with me to see if this is the right next step for you, check out the link in the show notes. And we have to ask ourselves, like, which mom do we want to show up as for our kids? Do we want to show up as the mom who did it all, but did it all burnt out and bitter?
Right.
It's like, if you're
that mom.
Oh, I am too.
Sometimes
Oh,
and
yep.
I just catch myself being like, nope, something's off right now.
Yeah, and it's never too late to recognize it and then take a step back and go lock yourself in your room and be like, I have to go breathe for a minute. Let me just take a step back. You might love this. My favorite quote, and I say this every episode because it's my favorite, is from Frozen, which
I'm certain I know it then.
It's in the Troll song, and it's people make bad choices when they're mad or scared or stressed. People make bad choices if they're mad or scared or stressed. And I love it. Yeah. And I love it because it's so great for explaining to our kids as like, somebody did something, I did something wrong, someone else did something wrong because they were stressed because of whatever. But it's like, it helps us as have compassion on ourselves. It's like, wait a minute, why did I snap at my kids? Oh, because I've had to pee for 3 hours and I haven't taken care of myself because I've been running around like a mad woman trying to get all these things done, and I haven't taken a minute to go take care of the thing I needed to do because I haven't sat down all day, I haven't eaten today, I haven't whatever I needed to do because my kids were yelling at me all day and I'm super overwhelmed. I get screamed at a lot. I have a severely autistic 12-year-old. I get yelled at a lot and I get really overwhelmed, and it's like, oh, what am I doing that, to take care of me when I'm feeling that panic, when I'm feeling like I'm being attacked by screams? Like, oh, I actually have control. I have the ability to do something about it. When I'm mad or scared or stressed, I can take a step back. I can go to my basement, to my bedroom, and just breathe And like, it's amazing what 2 minutes of breathing will do for your nervous system as a mom, and your kids will live for 2 minutes while mom breathes. They really will be all right. But like what a difference it makes to how you show up to them when you take care of yourself first.
Mm, such a good quote. I love that. And yeah, those 2 minutes of breathing. I mean, it's like, why do we avoid that? You know, when at least I feel like I used to, I really more now recognize how clearly we just like connect back to myself, connect back to this core place, and then act from there for anything, you know, going
Yeah.
into an interview, going in to perform a song, like career wise too, or feeling, and we're showing our and we're teaching our children the same. We're teaching them, you know, how to regulate.
Yeah. Yep. And I love that quote because it does teach them. It's such a great quote for teaching the little kids. Like,
Oh, it's so good.
it's like, it's my
Talk about it
favorite.
today.
Yeah. And I'm like, they know, my kids know it really well because like I say it to them all the time. Like, are you mad or scared or stressed or hungry or tired or whatever? Like, stressed can mean so many things. But it's like, how do we come back to ourselves and come back to calm so that we can then show up as our best self in the world? Because that's so important. And it's like, we want to show up as our best selves. We want to be the best mom that we can be. But and it can even just be by ourselves and whatever we're doing, if we're driving or if we're recording a song and it's not going well and we're getting really frustrated and the computer's not working and something's going wrong, it's like, we can come back. We can come back to ourselves and we can regulate, and it makes like a world of difference when we choose to do that. And I love it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it is the key. And you can look back at our generations and being like, oh yeah, gosh, wouldn't it have been nice if we were taught that? Like at any point, these coping
Yeah.
skills that we just didn't have, that we're learning now, we get to give our children so that
Yeah.
they go into their teenage years and their 20s with some skills of like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Or my
Yep.
child starts to cry and it's like my instinct is get them to stop crying. And it's like, oh, like she's allowed to cry. Like she's allowed to feel uncomfortable and to know she's loved, and that
Mm,
we all feel uncomfortable sometimes, and not to like when we start to spend, I think, you know, spend a lifetime trying to avoid these uncomfortable feelings, we never really get to move past like square one because we're always trying to
yeah.
like kick the can. And so it's like you got to move through those hard moments.
It's so true. And I was actually just having this conversation with my husband last night. When I feel like it's directed at me, the crying, the screaming, the whatever is, when I'm like, it's at me, they're coming at me. I have such a hard time with that whole self-regulation thing. And when someone else is yelling at someone else, I'm like, okay, I can help you calm down. I can help you co-regulate. I'm really good
Mm,
at it. I'm really good at being in the zone. And I was like, oh my gosh, the key here is for me to like sort of dissociate that and not take it on myself, not
mm,
take someone else's yelling as being at me. It never
mm,
is about me. It
yeah.
was never about me. Someone else, the baby crying, the child yelling, like, it's never about you. It doesn't matter who it is or what they're doing. It's always about how they're feeling and how they're expressing themselves, and they get to be upset, they get to express themselves however they want it.
Mhm.
You don't need to take it on as
Mhm.
being about you. And I was like, I need to stop taking it on. I need to stop like making it about me, because as soon as I make it about me, I start going nuts. I start like not being able to regulate myself. But as soon as
Yeah.
I start looking at it like, oh, they're just being, then I'm really in a good place and I can help them. And I was like, wow. That was my big insight
Yeah.
yesterday.
No, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like when we can shift from taking it personally to moving. I mean, that's a hard shift because it triggers a lot of things. So that's the work. That's the work. But like, you know, that is.
Yeah. Well, and step one is awareness. Like as soon as you can like be aware, and in that moment, that's the hardest part. It's like if you can stop, if you can just for a second interrupt the trigger and be aware instead, and blaming yourself is not going to help anything. Like you gotta like shut down the self-blame, because that only keeps the cycle going. Like it doesn't help. It's especially like when we're looking at generational stuff and like, I wish I had done that better in the past. It's like we weren't aware. You can't change it if we're not aware, if our parents weren't aware. Like we were never taught that, they weren't taught that. Like you can only change it if you're aware. So start by trying to be aware.
That's it. And then we move forward from there.
Yeah. So what differences have you seen in your career, as you've been doing sync music and like trying to like do this thing and, you know, trying to, you know, live your passion and live your dreams as a mom? Like, have you seen a big difference between when your kids were really little, like infant, toddler phase, versus now when they're a little bit older? Because I feel like there's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean,
age.
the infant toddler phase, I was like in a little bubble, you know, I wasn't creating new music. I had created a lot of music before that. It was actually some of the most successful years I had in sync, even though I wasn't creating, because I had like put the time in before. And it's always my thing. Like we plant the seeds and then they bloom, and the timing worked out that I had planted it before. And then I had this little nice time of being with my children, although I wasn't able to really enjoy that. You know, you'd feel like, oh my God, I'm doing nothing in music, but you really can do nothing. Like you're just, I mean, was trying to like work and try to do meetings and figure out like all the things, you know, all mothers know how those first couple years feel like. And then COVID, in the middle of, you know, all of that with new babies. But I think now, as you can have conversations with them and there's more space and time to kind of create a little bit more, you know, I still don't feel like I have very much time. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should like go do this one thing that will mean I'm away for the night. And like, I don't really go away for nights, but you know, how do I kind of navigate that of being a mom who like goes to music events? And it's, you know, like, I want to also do that. I mean, I have, but just kind of navigating even though it's sometimes hard to do, I want them to see that mom does this, that mom, does, you know. So my career now, I'm a little bit more able to get out there, and the virtual world is amazing. Like I'm going to go pick up my girls after this and take them on a walk and go grocery shopping and then come home. And then I have vocals I need to deliver this evening. And tomorrow you know, it's like, we can create a lot from our homes. And I have my own business, which allows me to have a lot of flexibility, and I can record at home, which gives me more flexibility. And you just like moms, and not to negate, you know, other dads, but like, and maybe dads are too, but moms are really great at multitasking. You know, we figure it out, and it's not always comfortable. And I think that's something for me. I don't know if that helps anybody else, but I've always felt like if it's not comfortable, it's not for me. But, you know, it's like, oh, if I went to this networking thing the other night and I had to leave for dinner and my daughter was crying about me leaving. And I'm like, it's so hard to leave. And I need to go. And of course she's going to be fine and all of those things. But like, just because it's hard and it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. And
that's how growth happens so many times. There's so much growth that feels like stretching and painful. And then you're like, oh, actually, that was the best thing for me or them or all of us together. Was that, like, I actually just went on a retreat a couple weeks ago, and it was the first time I've ever left my kids ever overnight or at all. Like,
Yeah, I
and
get it.
my
I get
oldest is
it.
13, and it was like, it's the first time I've ever been away, and it was crazy, and they were fine, and they did great, and it was amazing, and it was like, oh, oh, oh. It was
This
like
is
the
here
best
for
thing I could
me.
have done, right? It was like the best thing I
Yeah.
could have done for myself, and it was like, oh, why did it take me so long to do that? Who knows?
Well, for a lot of reasons, we're on our, but
Yeah,
yeah, but also just to like, yeah, it's stretching. Sometimes it doesn't feel like stretching. It doesn't really feel like breaking, you know,
yeah,
but it's like, same with like the people pleasing. It's just this idea of, I often have to like chat myself through somebody else's discomfort. I'm like, that's not mine. Like they don't
yes.
like what I had to say, or I don't agree with them, or, that whatever, like they're having their own response to it. And it's uncomfortable for me. And I can identify that. I want to fix it for them, but like, that's not my job to fix it for them. Like they have to kind of figure out how to,
They
handle that.
they get to have their own experience,
Yeah,
and we have to just let them have it, and the same goes for our kids. Like,
totally.
we as much as we want to just like sugarcoat everything and like just eat candy and soda all the time so you can be happy always. Like, we've been working really hard in our family of like eating healthy, and my kids do not like it. They are rebelling really hard against the eating healthy part. And it's like, that's part of growth and learning. It's like, no, this is
Mm,
what's actually good for you. It's like,
right,
that's part
right.
of life, is allowing people we love and people we don't even know to just experience life. And the most important thing is that like we are living, authentically. It's like, what is actually true for us? Oh, I don't like that. And just being able to say that out loud and be like, oh, I don't agree. Like, I don't like that. And for so many of us, that's really, really hard to say. And like, so me included, we went to breakfast this morning, my husband and I sent my meal back. And I think that might be the first time in my whole life I've ever sent a meal back, because I never ever do that. And it was like, this is terrible. But it's like that, like it's like lying when you're
Yeah,
like, no, this was good when it was
right,
terrible. Like, it
right.
really is like a lie. Like, we have to be honest, and
Yeah.
stop worrying so much about how other people are going to perceive it. They just get to have their experience.
And not, it's like I worked at a restaurant going to college down this restaurant across the street from UCLA, and so many people send their food back. I had no idea. This is like a thing. Like people do not even think about it, and like there are they're like, oh yeah, no, that's my opinion. I'm not even thinking about your response to my opinion. Like they have no problem with it. And there's the opposite side of the spectrum over here, you and I, where we're like, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I have to, and it's like, we also get to like, we all have our different things, but it's interesting to see how we've all been
Yeah, conditioned.
shaped differently.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true. So as we're wrapping up, I would love to hear more about your album and where we can find you, and all the things. Your
Yeah.
EP.
So two of the songs off the EP has been released.
And they're amazing,
Thank
by the
you.
way.
Thanks.
They're
Yeah.
so good.
Bang Bang is like an upbeat, fun, cheeky song about people pleasing and not giving a hoot,
Love
really
it.
owning it. And What If the World Goes Black came out in November. And that one is really like this stage where you realize what has worked for me in my life. The coping mechanisms that were in place for my survival are no longer serving me, and I need to let go of them. And it's my comfort zone at the same time. So how do you like walk through the dark and give up your identity of what you think you are and what you think you own, and become whatever else is on the other side of that? And so it's called What If the World Goes Black. My favorite songs off the record come out in 2024. And the record's called Speak. And the single, the title track is Speak, and that will be coming out next. And it's
Amazing.
yeah, I'm really excited for this record. And you can find it on
So cool.
Spotify. Follow me on Instagram and Spotify. Probably. I'm trying to figure out TikTok, but I haven't really figured that one out yet. Although I do post on there as much as I can figure out how. I mean, I know how to post, but like I don't know what, I don't know how to
What the
like
tips
get
and
it
tricks are to get
going.
it to like
why isn't
explode.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know why, but I just don't know what I'm talking about yet on there. So I'll find my voice on there. But Instagram, I've got dialed in. Spotify is a great place to just follow me on Spotify if you're supporting independent artists like you and me, following the artists on Spotify, making playlists with their music, sharing it, like making reels with their songs. All of that is just really helpful for the independent artist.
Love it. Love it. Anywhere else you want to send us? Website, anything?
Well, if you are
Too
also
indie.
really into right, there's that. My whole world, my business. Yeah. So if you are an independent artist and you are looking for more support around sync and opportunities and ways to get your songs in TV, film, ads, and get your songs signed, toindie.com is the place to go. We have a ton of free resources. You can join our community on there, and there's DM me. If you need more info, I'm happy to help you find your way and navigate that. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, Indie's amazing. I've been in that
Yeah.
community for a little while, and Sonnet and John are so awesome. And they have their podcast. Don't forget about your podcast.
Yeah, and I have a podcast, so please check it out. It's called the Music Licensing Podcast, and you'll learn a lot more about John and I on there. And we have some phenomenal guests talking about music licensing, from ad agencies to supervisors and all in between.
Awesome. So do you have any final words of wisdom to share with us before we close? Especially about following your dreams as a mom, which is, it feels like sometimes it feels impossible. It feels like you become a mom and it's like, that's it. That's it for me. There's no way. I don't know how to do this anymore. So you're sitting here living it and releasing music and, getting your music licensed, and you've got those gorgeous girls and showing us all that it's possible.
I mean, it's messy. It's messy. I have two kiddos crying and yelling, and I'm trying to get vocals done, and I'm late on vocals, and I'm, they're homesick, and I'm trying to hold a Zoom call. It's all messy. And I think that it's just so much permission. I'm allowing it to be messy. And these are the stages of we just get to be, the more present we can be. I just want to be present with my children. And it's really, it's hard. It's really hard because we have a million things pulling on us. So
literally
they're pulling on us. Literally, I want to show up on Zoom for my coaching, and I really do want to make sure they have their snack and so I think there's just so much grace, and it's messy. It is not a fast journey, and it's uncomfortable, choosing you and filling you up and your goals and your dreams when you have little ones that are depending on you can feel very difficult to do. And it's such a necessary move, and it's so important. And just know, nobody else is doing it perfectly. Everybody is doing it with their hands full, and things are spilling, and it doesn't always feel good. And you just keep doing it because we want to show our children another way, and we want to be present for all the moments in between.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love talking with you. I love your story, and you're just such a wise beacon of light. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonnet. It was such a joy to get to talk to her and to hear all of her wisdom and to hear her story. I definitely relate, and I hope that you guys found her words of inspiration just as inspiring as I did. So if you loved this episode, please share it with somebody who needs to know that their dreams are possible too, and that it's okay to show up messy, because it really is. It's okay to just keep trying and to do things imperfectly. So, let's see, we're on takeaways. Time for favorite takeaways. Number 1, keep doing you. Keep on your journey. Keep finding your center and keep showing up authentically. Love it. Number 2, what lights me up is when I feel really connected to myself, to my power, and I move from that place and I'm doing work that allows me to stay connected to that place. Number 3, it's amazing what 2 minutes of breathing will do to your nervous system. What a difference it makes to how you show up. Number 4, just because it's hard and it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. Number 5, that's how growth happens so many times. There's so much growth that feels like stretching and painful, and then you're like, oh, actually, that was the best thing for me. Number 6, part of life is allowing people we love and people we don't know to just experience life. We have to be honest and stop worrying so much about how other people are going to perceive us. They just get to have their experience. And number 7, it's messy. It's all messy, and we get so much permission to allow it to be messy. These are the stages we just get to be the most present we can be. There's just so much grace. Nobody else is doing it perfectly. Just keep doing it. I loved Sonnet's message, and I hope that you did too. This has been such a fun episode, and I'm excited. Seeking Sunshine has so many incredible episodes coming up in the future, and I hope that you will stick around for all the fun, because we just have awesome stuff coming up. Make sure that you check out the show notes, because that's where all the links are at. That's where Sonnet's bio is, and that is where all the takeaways are. And if you really like the takeaways, you can actually subscribe to the Snippet of Sunshine and get each one of these quotes sent to you in your inbox every day. And they're really cute and they're really pretty, and I really like them. And you can even print them off and hang them on your wall, and they're really nice and inspirational. Let's see what else is on here. You can get the Easy Podcasting Basics cheat sheet. You've also got the Magic Mind discount code, which is Seekings20, and then the link, which is magicmind.com/Seekings, so that you can get that extra amazing free month of Magic Mind, which is really amazing. And then let's see, there's my website link, KaraleigHgarrison.com. And then make sure you check out my other podcast if you're interested in podcasting, which is Podcasts Like a Mother, which is really fun. And it has just really short little 20-minute episodes. And they're really informational. They're really like, this is how you podcast and why you podcast. And podcasting is my favorite thing ever. So that's why I want to share it with the world, and I want, this is accessible to everybody, and I want everyone to have, the joy that I feel in doing this. And so actually that's why I am launching my Podcast Like a Mother masterclass, where I am going to be teaching podcasting made easy, because I want you to know that this gets to be easy, it gets to be fun, and it will change your whole life. And I'm so passionate about podcasting. It lights me up so much. I could talk about it all day. But right now, the pre-sale is going on for the masterclass, and the pricing's going to be going up when we get closer to the workshop in a couple weeks. So if you are interested in podcasting and you're interested in the masterclass, check out the link in the show notes, because this is the lowest price that the masterclass will be offered for, and then it's going to go up when we get closer to the workshop. So take advantage of the pre-sale pricing while you still can. And I hope you guys have an incredible day. And I'm going to leave you with a song.
I would cry. They say that it's okay to feel your feelings. Sometimes it's just too hard to feel your feelings. So I stopped crying and went back to apathy. Dear apathy, I need you here with me. You calm the tears I cry. I go up and I go down with my emotions. You keep me on solid ground with these emotions. I shut them down and went back to apathy. Dear apathy, they say you're wrong for me.